Hey, what's going on, everybody? So in today's video, I thought we'd take a look at Davante Adams and Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers and sort of look at some stats, look at some information on sort of how they've performed in fantasy these past few years, sort of look at the situation there in Green Bay and how I think it will affect their fantasy value in the upcoming 2020 NFL season. But if you guys are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Luke Beller. I'm a Packers fan, as you can tell, but I post mostly about fantasy football, some about the Packers as well. So if you're into either of those things, feel free to subscribe to this channel down below. So let's start off with Aaron Jones. Last year, he put up a monster year, but if we look at his stats, he ran the ball 236 times for 1,084 yards, 16 rushing touchdowns with 4.6 yards per carry. Then he had 49 receptions for 474 yards and 3 touchdowns. And those stats put him as the third ranked running back in standard leagues and the second ranked running back in PPR leagues with about 19.7 points per game. So last year was obviously Aaron Jones' best year all time. And as a Packers fan, it was exciting to watch him sort of do what he did last season. And I think that coming into the 2020 season, I think he still is a great running back. He has lost no skill at all, but just sort of with the situation in Green Bay, there's just a few things that sort of make me hesitant to draft him this upcoming year, just because there's not much uncertainty. And because he's being taken as such a high running back still, I sort of prefer to pick players who you have a little more certainty in the beginning rounds. And I think with some things that are going on in Green Bay, there's not much as certainty as I would like. And one of the biggest reasons is the Packers drafted running back A.J. Dillon in the second round of this 2020 NFL draft. And lots of people were shocked by that pick. And I think it sort of makes sense considering last year the Packers were one of the worst teams when it came to short yard situations. I think they were like 22nd or 27th, something in that range. But A.J. Dillon is like a big, powerful back. And so one thing that I think he's going to do is I think he's going to come in and I think he's going to steal like short yardage carries, which could hurt Aaron Jones's touchdown ability. I think he still score lots of touchdowns, but last year's touchdown total of 19, I definitely think he will regress. I think he would have regressed anyways, even if the Packers didn't draft A.J. Dillon. So the fact that A.J. Dillon is coming in here, I think that will hurt his value, definitely. And if you look at the Packers last season, they had Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, and those are pretty much the two guys they use in the running back as running backs. And I think Jamal Williams had about 100 carries, but no other running backs had more than 6 carries. So last year was pretty much just the two of them doing it. But now with A.J. Dillon in, that's going to be 3 guys in that backfield. So I think there's reason to worry that Aaron Jones's, sort of carries, I think will take a hit. I think his receptions will take a hit as well with all 3 guys in this backfield because, Matt LaFleur really likes A.J. Dillon, and it's sort of going to be focused on the rushing attack, which is good for Jones. I still think he'll have a good season, but I think there's just some uncertainty with sort of how well he will do in this upcoming season. I definitely don't expect him to sort of do as well as he did last season, so you shouldn't be drafting him, I don't think, in the top 3. He's going around ADP of 10th right now. So I think that he could definitely perform at that number, but I just think there's a slight chance that if the Packers come in here and play A.J. Dillon more and he starts to, heat up, they could turn into more of a committee. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I don't think you can take that. I don't think you can say that that's outside of the possibilities. I think it's more likely that Aaron Jones gets majority of the carries, and that's very likely. That's sort of what I think. But there's also this question with A.J. Dillon. And another thing to sort of look at is Aaron Jones, this is his contract year. And so sort of how he does this season will sort of, dictate what the Packers will pay him or if they'll have to let him go in this offseason. And if he were to put up monster numbers again, as he did last season, the Packers would have to pay him a massive amount of money. So who knows, maybe the Packers don't want to play him as much. If Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon can sort of, do well enough and play well for the Packers offense, then maybe, I don't know, this could be like a conspiracy theory. Maybe they'd play him more so that way if Aaron Jones doesn't have a great season, they can pay him less by keeping him on the team. That could be a little selfish, but, I don't know. Anything could happen, so that's just sort of another thing that I sort of was thinking about, that maybe they won't play him as much because they want to keep him. But anyways, that's sort of my thoughts on Aaron Jones. I think he still could put up great numbers this season. There's a little uncertainty, so I think there's some other guys who have a more clear situation. So just sort of take that into account when you're coming into your draft. And then Davante Adams, he is a beast on this Packers offense. And the fact that the Packers didn't draft any wide receivers in this draft sort of shows me that Davante Adams is going to stay head and shoulders above every other Packers receiver on this team. I do think there are some other Packers wide receivers that are talented. You have Alan Lazard. They brought in Devin Funchess as well. And I think that Lazard will have a really good year. I think I made a video earlier about why I think he's underrated. I might actually be targeting him later in drafts because I think people don't really realize how good he could be. And there's lots of upside in Alan Lazard. So I'd take a look at him if you haven't really heard much about him. But I still think Davante is going to be head and shoulders above all these other Packers receivers. Last season, if you sort of look at how he performed, he only played in 12 games last season because he got injured. But if we take a look at his stats, he had 83 receptions for 997 yards and 5 touchdowns. And so it wasn't a great season considering he missed those games. But if you took a look at his season, sort of if you took how well he played per game and sort of did that over as if he had played 16 games, he still would have finished as the third wide receiver behind Chris Godwin by like 2.7 points, but then still super far behind Michael Thomas because Michael Thomas went crazy last year. But Davante is still, I think personally, a top 3 wide receiver for fantasy football. I'd personally probably take him after Michael Thomas if I was going for a receiver. Because if you sort of look at Davante, he's just been so consistent over these past few seasons. If you look at his touchdown number from 2016 to 2018, he had 12 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns. Last season, as I said, he had 5 touchdowns. So I expect him to put up more than 5 touchdowns this season. With Aaron Jones' touchdowns, I expect to come down. I think that some of those will go to Davante. So I think he'll finish closer to the 10 touchdown range as long as he can stay healthy throughout the entire season. And then if we look at sort of how consistent he is, in his last 35 games, in 30 of those games, he's had at least 12 points. And so that is about a 85.7% rate. And when you sort of look at other guys who are sort of close to him, the next closest guy is Michael Thomas with 68.6%. And then Julio Jones, 65.7%. So Davante has been one of the most consistent, if not the most consistent, wide receiver when it comes to consistent fantasy points in these past few seasons. And I think that he will continue to do that considering the Packers didn't really add any major weapons on this offense. Aaron Rodgers is still a very good quarterback, even if he has declined a little bit. So I would have no problem taking Davante as one of my top wide receivers, definitely. So those are basically my thoughts on those 2 Packers players for this upcoming fantasy season. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts about this, what you guys think about Davante, Aaron Jones. If you have any other opinions or any other things that you know about them that you want to share, feel free to say it down below. I'm happy to have conversations with everybody. But if you guys enjoyed this video, I'd love if you'd like it down below. And, feel free to subscribe if you're into fantasy football. The Packers, why not subscribe? Why not be a part of this growing community of 17 people currently? Why not? But that's going to be all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace out.